Hello everyone, I'm Sonya Byers, Chief Exec of Women in Transport, and I'll be speaking today about the importance of considering gender, race and ethnicity in transport and sharing some best practice examples from the transport sector. So a bit about Women in Transport. We're a non-profit professional membership network. We are inclusive and open to everyone, but our mission is to support women working in transport. We do this through networking, professional development, including our advanced mentoring programme and our lead leadership development programme. And as Secretariat for the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Women in Transport, we campaign for greater gender balance in the transport workforce in the UK. The transport connects everyone. It's a vital part of everybody's lives. Women make up 51% of the population, and female employment rate is almost 72% in the UK. Women make up the majority of public transport users, yet women are significantly underrepresented in transport. The EU figure is 22%, and when you break it down by mode, the representation is significantly less. Ultimately, this means that transport is designed, managed and run predominantly by men. The Transport Infrastructure Skills Strategy in 2016 set out existing skills shortages in key industries across the sector, with recommendations and ambitions to address the skills gap across infrastructure and transport bodies. It recognised the importance of women's economic participation in the transport workforce, and it set a stretching target of 47% representation of women working in transport by 2030. Currently in the UK, we are at 18%. So the strategy also set out ambitions for apprenticeship numbers and diversity. This included a 20% increase in BAME representation in line with government targets and 20% of technical and engineering roles to be filled by women, reaching parity with the working population by 2030. The Strategic Transport Apprenticeship Task Force was set up to support the measures in the strategy. The annual report published in 2020 shows good progress on BAME representation, exceeding the 20% target. However, female representation has decreased from 21% to 21% from 23.5% in 2018-19. The proportion of technical and engineering starts that are female also dropped from 14.8% to 12%. And when you look at the intersectionality of ethnicity and gender, there are clear issues in attracting BAME women into transport and engineering apprenticeships. The report highlights a commitment to ensuring that the transport industry workforce reflects the diverse society it serves, particularly when taking into account the future design and use of transport systems. The report states that data shows that when decision-making and design does not include diverse thinking and needs of different groups within the population are less likely to be taken into account. But our research for the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Women in Transport highlights some of the issues we face as a sector. On International Women's Day this year, Women in Transport published a white paper about gender perceptions in transport. We found 93% of women strongly agreed that transport is typically viewed as a male-dominated industry. 42% of women did not think that being a woman is an advantage in the transport industry, and 82% of women agreed that unconscious bias against women isn't an issue they feel exists in transport. 75% also agreed that it's easier for men than women to progress their careers in transport, and 53% of women thought that it was more difficult for women from ethnic minority backgrounds to progress. Worryingly, 70% of women had experienced discriminatory behaviour or language targeted at them. You can download the research from our website. You will find a number of best practice examples in the white paper on recruitment, retention and progression of women in transport. So there are some best practice examples in the Transport Skills Strategy Annual Report as well. One of those is the Go Ahead Women in Drive initiative. Go Ahead have been working closely with TfL to devise initiatives that are changing negative perceptions of men only driving buses, and they're succeeding, showing that times are changing. So although there are still more men than women currently driving their buses, women bus drivers now account for 12% of their London workforce, compared to a national average of 7%. Apprentices who have completed the driving training say that a main factor of its success is that it is targeted purely at women, focusing on issues that are directly relevant to women. Staying on buses, bus is predominantly used by women, people from BAME backgrounds and younger people. Our Women in Transport DNI Bus Group was formed in 2019 and is led by myself and Chloe Leach O'Connell. We meet every quarter, sharing and delivering outputs which will support the bus industry to accelerate diversity and inclusion. We've grown to represent a variety of functions and businesses across bus and are currently working with the Confederation of Passenger Transport to deliver the inclusive employment journey led by Caroline Ward. It will be a database of best practice in diversity and inclusion for each stage of the career path in our industry, from how we're perceived in our communities when we're looking to attract talent through to life after bus and supporting people as they retire. One of the companies in our DNI Bus Group is Brighton and Hove Buses, led by the Managing Director, Martin Harris. The company is leading the way in truly embracing diversity and inclusion and putting it at the heart of how it does business, from recruitment, bus design to stakeholder and community engagement. I really recommend following their work. So Invisible Women by Caroline Corrado Perez is recommended reading for all of our Women in Transport members and their mentors and mentees, and it was the subject of our first book club last year. It exposes the data bias that permeates every aspect of our world. Specific examples in transport include the fact that women are 47% more likely to die in a car crash because cars are tested using crash test dummies that are based on reference man. If you haven't read the book, please do, but I warn you, it will probably make you angry. I mention it now because the author does highlight two best practice examples in transport planning. The first is the Gender Equality Initiative in Sweden, which required the municipalities to re-evaluate all of their practices and activities through a gender lens. Despite one government official joking that at least snow clearing would likely be spared the scrutiny of the gender people, it was not. To their surprise, the study showed that the practice of clearing snow from roads before footpaths disproportionately impacted women. Women are more likely to walk, while men were far more likely to drive. As a result, women's mobility was not only more limited when the snow came, they were at greater risk of injury on the slippery snow and ice. Driving through 3 inches of snow is significantly easier than pushing a buggy, bike or wheelchair through it. So why were they ploughing the cars first? Once aware of this gendered impact, the town switched to clear snow from pedestrian areas first. Changing the order of ploughing came at no extra cost and actually ended up saving them money and helped address the gender imbalance created every year during the winter season. Another example from Invisible Women, the ongoing transformation of Barcelona, a so-called feminist city. It illuminates the importance of having women at the forefront of the planning process. Ada Colau was sworn in as Barcelona's first woman mayor in 2015. Since then, all decisions regarding city budget, urban planning and public services have taken into consideration implications for both men and women. Although 80% of trips in Barcelona are made by foot or public transport, over 60% of Barcelona's public space is dedicated to cars. Since women are more likely to walk than men, women are disproportionately impacted by the city's lack of pedestrian space. The city has ambitious plans to allow pedestrians to reclaim the city through superblocks. A superblock is formed by conjoining 9 city blocks and closing it to most traffic, with the exception of local traffic, which is restricted to 10 kilometres per hour. All parked cars go underground and allowing parks, landscaping, seating and play areas filled with people to replace junctions. Barcelona built its first city block in 2018 and now it has 6, with the ultimate goal to build over 500 super blocks. Another example in Barcelona, most cities have radial public transport systems, and the few circular routes that exist are typically concentrated in the city centre. This system can be incredibly efficient for commuters who prioritise travelling to and from work quickly and efficiently. However, it disadvantages women who trip chain, so they combine multiple trips like shopping, childcare and work in one journey. But these systems cannot be easily improved. But buses are flexible and their routes and stops can, and they should be moved and adjusted for need. So in 2012, the city began building an orthogonal bus network that complemented the subway spider transit map. To date, at least 8 new bus lines have been installed, with 28 more bus lines planned or underway. This system allows for greater ease of trip chaining, which particularly benefits women who are responsible for care-related trips. So, Invisible Women highlights why data is so important to a truly inclusive and universal transport system. An excellent example of best practice in this area is Transport for London's research report, Understanding Our Diverse Communities in 2019. It's over 130 pages. It provides comprehensive data-driven analysis and profiling of London's communities, identifying the different barriers faced by London's communities when accessing transport, travel patterns, the behaviour of different groups, and attitudes towards issues such as fares, personal safety and security, and satisfaction with services. It enables TfL staff and stakeholders to make truly informed decisions that consider the needs of all users of TfL's services. If you're looking for data that considers a wider demographic, then check out the European Diamond Project. It's a 4-year research project across the UK, Ireland and Europe, which analyses and converts data into knowledge, with notions of impartiality to move towards a more inclusive and efficient transport system from a gendered perspective. The project identifies and evaluates specific measures to meet the needs and expectations of women as users of different modes of transport and as workers in the sector, with 4 clear outcomes: holistic research on women in transport, methods for gender analysis, fairness applied to women in transport analysis, and novel self-diagnostic and decision support systems tools. I really recommend that you visit the website and look at the real-world case studies. So hopefully this talk has provided you with some insight into the importance of considering gender, race and ethnicity in transport provision. From my perspective, we all have a collective responsibility in making transport more inclusive. My final recommendation is to watch the PTRC Fireside Chat from April 2021. This diagram is from a LinkedIn article written by Glenn Lyons, who chaired the event. The diverse panel discussed the importance of diverse perspectives in the transport profession, and particularly focused on the intersectionality of race and gender. In his article, Glenn discusses 4 stages of personal development to promote more inclusive transport using the 4 stages of competence model from psychology. So moving from our unconscious incompetence, so being ignorant of the nature and significance of racial and gender inequality in transport, to gradually growing our awareness and making a proactive effort to influence the behaviour of our own behaviours and others to create change, to becoming unconsciously competent. So it just becomes the natural way of doing things. I highly recommend reading the article by Glenn, which includes a fantastic reading list for those that are interested in challenging their own worldview and stretching to unconscious competence. Thanks so much for listening.